Good afternoon and welcome to another episode of the Idaho House Republicans podcast, where you get to learn a little bit more about the representatives that you have sent to the State House. And today we're very grateful to have Representative Lori McCann, and Lori McCann represents Legislative District 6. She sits in Seat A, and she is in her third term. Welcome to the Idaho House Republicans podcast, Representative Lori McCann.
Great. It's a pleasure to be with you.
Hey, let me tell you a little bit about Lori. Quite an impressive woman. She's a Lewiston resident for the last 50 years. She graduated from Lewiston High School. She's a U of I grad with a Bachelor of Science in Education. She worked at Lewis Clark State College for 15 years, part-time as a professor. It must have been fun being in class with you. For 45 years, her husband, she's been supportive of his law practice, and they have a family corporation together which focuses on cattle ranching, timber, and real estate development. And she serves on the board of the Idaho Business for Education, and she is on the U of I Strategic Initiative Fund. And her husband, dear husband, Bill,
yes,
that's part of your life, right? And your 4 kiddos.
Yeah.
And you have 11 grandchildren,
We
or
do.
do we have more than that?
No, we're still going to have 11.
Well, some of the representatives don't update their bios, and I'm behind on children and grandchildren. And just thank you again for joining us.
Oh, my pleasure. It's great to be here.
So the first thing we always talk about is the legislative district you serve. You serve Legislative District 6. Where is that located in the state, and what do your constituents care about in terms of issues?
Okay, thank you. I'm from District 6, and that encompasses all of Latah County, all of Lewis County, and just a small part of where I'm from in Lewiston. Okay. So my largest district is Latah County. And so I've got kind of a real blend of issues that folks are facing. This session, I've heard the most about the cuts in the budget and how is that going to affect our disability population, and how are we dealing with, balancing the budget so that it's not on the backs of the most vulnerable folks. So that's been a big issue in the district. But other issues that are in general very important to us. Education is one of the highest priorities in our district. We have a lot of homeschool families that are in our district, which I respect and agree that they have that great option. We have our public schools, and we have a lot of different private schools, particularly in the Moscow area. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of good options there. But education throughout this district, and we have, a pretty rural district with smaller communities. So a lot of farming and ranching. So that really blends with my background. And then, of course, business and issues that are affecting our small businesses are all very high priorities in my district.
And we'll obviously be talking about water as well. I think that's
Absolutely.
One issue that is near and dear to your heart.
Yes.
So will you remind us, please, Representative McCann, which committees on which you serve?
Sure. Yes. So I serve on the Health and Welfare Committee, and that is a newer committee for me this term. So I'm learning a lot about that whole system, and it is a huge undertaking to try to understand. So I feel like I have a little bit of knowledge, but there's a lot to learn, and I'm enjoying it quite well. So that committee, I'm on the Agriculture Committee, and I sit on Commerce. So 3 great committees that really are near and dear to me and fit with my background quite well.
So let's talk a little bit about, and we'll get back to some of the issues that you raised that are near and dear to your constituents. But I want to talk a little bit about some of the issues that you are working on here in the State House. And let's start with an interesting one. There's the Winchester Dam in your district.
Sure.
And you have been trying to figure out what the best course of action to preserve this, right?
Right.
So talk about what the issue is with the Winchester Dam and the constituents involved and what you'd like to do.
Okay. So this has been an ongoing issue really for probably almost 20 years. And the dam it's old, it has a few issues, and it dams the water in Winchester Lake.
Okay.
And it goes way back, but we won't spend time on that history. But so the dam has a few problems, and they've had to lower the level of water in the lake so that they ensure that we don't have a breach.
No.
So when the water is lowered substantially, it affects the toxic algae that is produced. It gets hotter, and so it's more difficult for fishing. It's more difficult for the campers. And so the people of Winchester really—
And you lose a lot of acre feet of water.
There is,
Yeah.
there is. And so this is in Lewis County, and the good folks in Winchester put a petition together and said, Governor, we really need this fixed. And they went to see him at the Capitol for a day. I think it was in Orfino, and they showed up in mass. And so I said, you know what, let's see what we can do. And so I'm working with Fish and Game. I'm working with Parks and Rec and with the water folks. And I think that there's no question that it needs to be fixed. And it's about a $3 million fix. And it's just finding where we can move money around to be able to fix it. It's not a new ask. They have some allocated funds in some of their budgets that they can get appropriation, authority to be able to spend. So we're just kind of working on the details. I'm excited. I'm hoping that we can get an agreement hammered out before the end of the session. So it probably won't get fixed till next fall, but So we're working hard to try to get that done. So it would be a great project for Winchester, and a big win for Winchester to get that fixed and get that park back up and running. And so
when you talk about dealing with Park and Rec, Fish and Game,
right,
and the water people, as you say, are there conflicting needs between the three of them that you're trying to reconcile, or you're just trying to?
I'm trying to just help all three come together, and some, Fish and Game has obviously more of access to cash in their budgets,
Okay.
but Parks runs the park. Fish and Game owns the park and the dam. And the water resource people just want to be helpful and said, we'll participate because this is such an important issue to that community. So we're just working out the details, and I think we'll get there, and I'm pretty excited about that.
Well, good job.
So, thank you.
So let's talk about House Bill 598, and it deals with campaign finance issues.
Yes.
What is the issue that you have seen, and what are you trying to improve with this bill?
So the bill ran through this one was state affairs, and it went through well. And then on the floor, it had a little more discussion. So I pulled it back and said, okay, you have some valid points. So what the bill does is it says if you're going to donate your campaign account, $25,000, whatever, that money must appear in your bank account.
Okay.
And then also as part of the bill, I wanted to be sure everybody had a separate bank account for their campaign funds. And that caused a little bit of consternation for our local clerks. So I heard from them. So we're trying to work with them because right now, if you have a really small, let's say school board election, and you maybe only needed $500 and to get a few signs.
Right.
Then at that point, they didn't need to have a separate bank account.
Okay.
So, and I didn't even, that wasn't in my thought process about the bill, and it didn't come up until later. So I'm working with them because I really think collaboration on a bill is key. And if people understand exactly what it's doing, and so I guess I'm just getting that vetted, and I think we're about ready to re-RS it and get that back on track. So it will just say you have to report, just like you do any donation, as a loan, and then if you're audited, you must be able to show that you actually deposited that money into your actual campaign account.
And so the reality, just to tell people how the inside of the campaigns work, one of the sources of funds that you can use is a loan to yourself
Right.
for your own campaign. The issue is, I think you see, is that sometimes someone will say, well, I've deposited $100,000 loan to
Right.
myself. And that could be a way of saying like, hey, stay out of the race. I've got the resources, right?
Right. I have more money, so
I have more
come
money.
in.
Right.
Yep.
But the question is, are those finances actually there in reality? So you'd like to have a mechanism where you can prove that if you've made that loan to yourself, that those funds actually have been deposited.
Absolutely. And so in the current system, if someone donates and you can get $1,000 in our races for each race, whether it's primary or general, and you have to report within 48 hours to the Secretary of State.
Correct.
So I'm going to try to do something similar to that it's everybody's used to doing that. And so if you're loaning over $1,000 to yourself, then you have to report the entire amount. And you know, in the federal rules, they actually allow you, well, if you deposit that money, you can actually invest it if it's just sitting there during off season. You can take from your campaign account and put it maybe in an interest-bearing CD, a money market, something like that. And so that came up. So we're trying to address that, but that is in federal code that you're allowed to do that. So, and I didn't know that either. So that was something I learned by doing this process.
But it's about transparency
Absolutely.
for campaign finance.
Yes.
So you seem to be like, you've got some transparency on your mind, because
I do.
House Bill 627 is also a transparency bill, and it deals with open meeting laws.
Yes.
So talk about what the issue is there that you're trying to solve, and whether you've run into any resistance or issues that maybe you didn't think about when you first wrote the bill.
So it came to my attention from folks that there had been some challenges in some local open meetings, like a school board or a county commission meeting and whatnot, and that some folks were asked to leave when they were videotaping with their cameras. And they said, you can't do that. And they challenged it, but they were escorted out. And so I felt that wasn't right, because—
And by the way, that is legal. You are allowed to—
Yes, but I looked in our code, and I asked our research lawyers, and they said, no, our code does not address that specifically. And so I searched around, and Montana recently had ran a bill and got it passed. So I took their language and Idahoized it, as we say, and sent it to LSO. We worked on it, and I had it ready right out of the gate. And also it had just one question in committee, and I fixed that. Well, then I didn't even give thought to the Department of Corrections, the juvenile system, and paroles and pardons. So that gave me a little bit of a hiccup, because they're like, well, we don't allow that, and it's in our rule. But if this bill comes through, it will trump what we have in rule.
Right.
So we've been working to get some language, because we have to realize, and again, that wasn't part of my thought process. And so I wanted to be very thoughtful about that. And so the Department of Corrections obviously does not want people videotaping inside the correction facilities.
And juvenile
has young kids, and parole board, they're concerned, and they're open to the public, but they don't allow them to record. There could be a victim that is in the room testifying, that this person should not get out of prison, but they don't want to re-victimize that person, and with everything with social media. So that it made sense. So we're trying to address that in a thoughtful way. And so I think we're about there. And
what committee was that in?
That came out of local government.
Okay.
And then now that's not a privileged committee. So the RS is going to go through state affairs.
Okay.
So, yeah.
So, that's something that's really important for Idahoans to know, is that really important legislation can happen, and then there's these unintended parties
That's right.
to the bill, and they voice their concerns, and then you go back to Legislative Service Office, you work out new language that accommodates the realities of some of these other parties, and then you reintroduce it.
Absolutely.
And that's how it works.
Yeah, it is, because sometimes we don't think about it, because that isn't what the bill was intended to do.
Right.
But there are what we call unintended consequences, and
Yes.
sometimes you don't know who you need to really deal with until it gets out into the public eye and they see it. And they follow it very closely. All of our agencies do. And so I appreciate that that they reached out, and it's been great to get to know them. And, you learn something new with every bill that you are working on.
Well, Godspeed with that.
Yes, thank you.
You've been dealing for a couple sessions with an issue that's you've been wrestling with on liquor licensing.
Yes.
And I think this is your second session where you've been kind of noodling around. Talk about what issue you see and how you're trying to grapple with it, and when we might see some legislation on it.
Right. So, right now, and this has been an issue for me since before I got into the legislature, because Lewiston is not a high growth area, and our liquor license availability is all based on population and the growth that you have. So every 1,500 people, you can get another liquor license and so forth.
Right.
Lewiston has had one brand new one in 40 years.
Oh my.
So it's very difficult for our current operators, along with new folks. So
restaurants that want to serve alcohol, or
Buffalo Wild Wings,
a new bar.
Yes, right. Buffalo Wild Wings is a great example. They wanted to come to Lewiston, and Lewiston was excited and going to welcome them in, but there was no liquor licenses available. As you know, we've had some challenges with liquor license becoming a property right, and folks buying them for $200,000-$300,000 and
sitting on them.
Yes. Yeah. So now they can sell them once, and we kind of are trying to deal with it one chunk at a time. So this bill, what I was going to try to do was somewhat like the resort cities, that we give our city council the ability to offer a few licenses outside of the quota system.
Okay.
So for cities like Lewiston that aren't growing, so there's just a lot of liquor licenses are a tough topic, but I'm going to keep working on it, because I think we can get to a solution. The real solution would be to get rid of the quota system and start over, and do somewhat like other states, that if you are running a restaurant and 60% of your revenue comes from food, you can get a liquor license. Mm-hmm. And then if you just want a corner bar, I think that they're really concerned that we don't want too many pubs that are just out there everywhere. So I think that there's a way to fix it, but there's a lot of differences of opinion, and folks who have spent a lot of money for their liquor licenses are not real excited about competing with someone who gets one for $600. So we have, we've kind of created this conundrum, and it really needs a full fix. But in the meantime, I think that this challenge for these communities, we can't compete and bring new restaurants in because of that issue. So that's the main issue, and I work on it every session. And I thought maybe this would be the session, but I'm running out of time. I need another month, but we don't want to be here another month.
Right, and so that's likely to come next year.
Absolutely, hopefully next year.
So, and then the reality is, of course, is that the more accoutrements you give the people, more people move there, and so then your population grows. But if you don't allow natural business growth, it makes a place less desirable.
Absolutely,
it's just a reality.
And I just feel like it's
holding you
interrupting the free markets, because we're holding that regulation on these smaller communities and maybe some communities are going to say, we don't want any more, and the city council would have that option. So it would be local control, the local people, and it would be a limited amount of licenses that they'd have that ability to issue. So
Every once in a while, you get to run a more fun bill, like
Okay.
more lighthearted bill, right?
right.
So House Bill 665.
Yep.
I imagine are you a horse person?
I am a horse person.
I had a feeling.
Absolutely.
So it's horse related.
It is horse
And
related.
what is the bill?
Okay, the bill is, I was contacted last summer by an attorney from Moscow who represents the Appaloosa Horse Club and Museum. So the club itself is moving all of their headquarters for the actual horse club, registering the Appaloosa horse and then horse shows and all of that to Oklahoma City, where more people are. So they have a specialty license for the Appaloosa Club. But in every specialty license, there's an amount of money that goes to the nonprofit or whatever. So, but we needed to fix that because Oklahoma City is not Lewiston.
No, it's not.
So, but there's a lovely museum that is on the outskirts, on the outside of main Moscow. It's still Moscow proper, but it's called the Appaloosa Museum. And so I ran this bill to fix the license plate so that the funds would continue to flow to the museum itself. And they have their mission is for the money is for education for horses and in particular the Appaloosa horse, which is very important to our Native American friends from the Nez Perce tribe. It was a very staple horse that they used throughout, throughohout time.
So how long have you been riding horses?
Oh gosh.
And what kind of horse do you have?
I ride quarter horses and we on our ranch. And so I would ride to, we gather cattle and did a lot of things with my granddaughters when they were younger and still wanted to come and hang out with grandma. But we would do team penning and just all sorts of fun things like that. So we've been involved with agriculture, my husband and I, since we been married. We've been married going on 33 years. So
well done.
Yes, well done. So yes.
And that's your husband, Bill, and you have 4 children, 11 grandchildren.
Absolutely, yes.
Got quite a full quiver.
We do. Family's so important to me. So.
Well, we thank you, Representative
you.
Lori McCann, for joining us on the
Absolutely.
Idaho House Republicans podcast. And as you always say before we sign off, God bless the great state of Idaho. And once again, thank you, Representative Lori McCann, who represents Legislative District 6 in C-Day in her 3rd term. And thank you for all the work you do on behalf of Idaho.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Sunrise on the Snake River Plain, red, white, and blue in the window pane. Work boots dusty from yesterday, but we're back at it the Idaho way.